Ho, ho, ho! Happy holidays and Merry Christmas from yours truly, Mr. Greenheart, aka Rahshawn, and this is none other than the Ant Green Show, Christmas edition 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is season 2, episode 1, but it's the holidays, so we had to make this a special Christmas edition. I'm your host, Mr. Greenheart, and we are back with the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We did take a little bit of a hiatus. We finished off season 1 with the co-hosts, of course, that I'm very happy and appreciative to have been working with. These co-hosts will be back. We will get them in at different times. For now, I did want to kickstart the season 2, episode 1 with a Christmas edition. So who else better to do it than yourself? So first and foremost, wanted to welcome everybody back. So the podcast is going to be taking not necessarily a different direction, but it's actually going to be including some new elements to it, if you could say. One thing that's going to be a big focus now is going to be what's called as the Canadian Corner. So the Canadian Corner is essentially going to be athletes, teams, groups that are all, of course, Canadian that we're going to be focusing on here at the podcast to highlight some of our local Canadian athletes and professional players, whether that be in basketball, whether that be in other sports. Of course, if we are doing a basketball episode, it would only be right to focus on some of the basketball Canadian athletes, as well as the teams, which the team would be the Toronto Raptors. But we're going to have a little bit of some time to talk about them in each and every episode. This episode will be focused mainly on the Christmas games that happened on December 25th, 2021 in the National Basketball Association. But wanted to give you guys a bit of a heads up to let you know that there will be a Canadian Corner. So I want to give some focus to that, and there'll be some really cool things that come along the lines as well. So make sure to tune in for that. And of course, we will have our co-host back at one point or another, but we'll also have some collaborations with some special guest speakers. These special guest speakers are friends of mine, professionals in their own field of work, and also are contributing, whether that be from a team standpoint, giving back to their communities, or just activists. They like to discuss sports in general. They like to share some of their knowledge. And if they do have anything going on with themselves personally, they always would love to get people involved. So we will definitely have some special guest speakers on and get the co-host back. And of course, we will also include in future episodes some trivia, game show. We want to get it interactive. We'll also try to do some live shows if we can. So we're going to include things like trivia, did you know facts, this time today in history, and just overall game show, just to give people some insight and knowledge in a different way, but also educating people as well in things that they may not have been aware of. But of course, if you guys aren't already doing so, the Ant Green Show is back. Season 2 is kicking off. So if you haven't, please like the video. A like goes a long way. It's the holidays. We'd love to see some holiday spirit. So, a like goes a long way. And if you haven't done it already, please make sure to follow at the Ant Green Show. We'll make sure to post the actual at for the social handle in our description. So without further ado, let's get into it. So our Christmas edition episode includes some of the 5 games that were on tap for the night. So we had the Knicks, the Hawks, Bucks, Celtics, Suns, Warriors, Nets, Lakers, and Mavericks and Jazz. Overall, I was really, I would say that it was a really good showing for most of the teams. The home teams almost held strong. We almost had a unanimous all home teams win for Christmas, so that would have been the best thing for the fans. But overall, it was a little bit of a mixed bag and some pretty interesting stuff that happened. So just to go through the games really quickly, we had the Knicks versus the Hawks, where the Knicks won 101-87. Then we had the Bucks versus the Celtics, which was Bucks winning 117-113. That game followed up by potentially a lot of people would say the game of the night, which was the Suns versus the Warriors. So, top two teams in the Western Conference. The Warriors did get the better of the Suns, winning 116 to 107. Then, what most people would consider to be the NBA Finals preview, we had the Brooklyn Nets versus the Los Angeles Lakers, where the Brooklyn Nets actually surprised the Lakers at home on Christmas Day, winning 122 to 115. And then we had the Dallas Mavericks versus the Utah Jazz to end the night off. And the Jazz did what they did best, led by their leader Donovan Mitchell. They won 120 to 116. So overall, there were three home teams that won. Right, the Knicks were at home. Madison Square Garden doesn't get any better than that on Christmas Day. The Bucks won as well, so defending champs, holding strong, taking care of a good opponent in the Boston Celtics. And then the Utah Jazz. A lot of people sleep on the Jazz. I know they're not the most exciting team in basketball, but they do have a lot of star potential, and they have a solid core group of guys. So they were able to hold strong under a depleted team that didn't unfortunately have Luka Doncic, but Kristaps Porzingis was still in the lineup and still played fairly well. So I want to get into some of the stuff that I felt was like some standout stuff in terms of the Christmas game first. Now, an interesting one that I came across was Kemba Walker for the New York Knicks actually got a triple double. So his numbers were he had 10 points, 10 rebounds, and 12 assists. So a 10-10-12 game. But as much as that was, low on the lower side for a triple double, it was the first time it's ever been done in Madison Square Garden. So a player like Kemba Walker coming from New York, getting to play for his hometown team, and being out of the lineup for quite some time in the season, it wasn't what more can you ask for somebody like that to accomplish such a great feat on Christmas game in Madison Square Garden. So that now is engraved in history. Kemba Walker is going down for the Knicks as being one of the only players to record a triple double on Christmas Day in Madison Square Garden. So shout out to him. I really hope he gets to turn things around. He's had a rough last few years with injuries. Um, he's had a bit of turbulence playing with the team, getting some minutes, being in the rotation. But, he proved out to help the Knicks get a win on Christmas Day. And yeah, he's in the history books now. So you can't take that away from him. Shout outs to Kimba. That's my boy. And hope to see more great things to come from him. And another interesting thing that came across my radar was LeBron James. Of course, everybody loves to talk about LeBron, how he's helping the Lakers, how he's now assembled a new Lakers team to go for his fifth NBA title. He actually passed Kobe Bryant in all-time leader in Christmas Day points. So right now, LeBron's sitting at 422 points in 16 games played. Kobe Bryant actually did 16 games and had 395. And behind him for third place was Oscar Robertson, which has about 377. So, a lot of people hate on LeBron. Um, you got to give props where props is due. You got to give him his flowers while he's still here. We are witnessing greatness. It seems like every other day he's breaking records, and I can't take nothing away from the man. There are some times that I will question his off-court antics, even some of the in-game antics. You like to see the best of the best carry themselves a certain way, but you also can't limit them, right? Because they are their own person. He's a man first, and he's going to do what he's got to do. So being the best in the league, technically speaking, he could do whatever he wants. And so this is just another notch on the belt for LBJ. So all you LBJ fans, supporters out there, I know you will appreciate this. All you LeBron James haters, find another reason to hate. You can't hate greatness. Arguably one of the best players of all time. A lot of people in their books, he is the best player of all time. For me, it's a toss up. I definitely think he's gonna be on my Mount Rushmore. You can't take away what he's done. He's been in the league for so long. However, we will get into some LeBron Lakers talk in a bit, but definitely wanted to point that out. Most points, all-time leader in Christmas Day points. So he's been playing Christmas games, I think, as long as I could remember. He had a really good duel with Tracy McGrady in his rookie season, and that game went to overtime, and he almost pulled out a win then. I think he scored about 32, 34 points. So shout outs to LeBron James, man. Just keep doing it. You're going to keep breaking records, and people are going to keep finding reasons to hate. I like to appreciate while he's there, give him his flowers, and you can't knock the man for what he's doing. You have to respect his talent. You have to respect what he does for the game, his impact. So shout outs to him, and shout out for this accomplishment that he achieved. So, going into some of the best performances of the night, I want to start off. Well, we have basically a top five list here. So we have Giannis, another monster night coming up at 36 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, followed by Steph Curry. He was a flamethrower as he always is. And it's scary to see what the Warriors are going to do when Klay Thompson comes back. They're destined for a championship run this year. I'm going to say that much. So shout outs to him. Curry came up with 33 big points, especially in the fourth, with 4 rebounds, 6 assists. James Harden was another notable performance, coming up with 36 big points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, followed by Donovan Mitchell, who had 33, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. So a lot of threes going on for Donovan, and his shot was on. And then lastly, I'm going to split this top five between Julius and Kimba, mentioning, of course, before that Kimba accomplished the holiday feat for the Knicks in the Garden, getting his 10 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. But Julius Randle also had a solid game, 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists. So for me, the games of the night that stood out the most was definitely the Suns Warriors. That series, whether they go to Western Conference Finals, Western Conference semis, it is going to be a complete shootout. Those guys are not going to hold back. Both teams are loaded. They're deep. They have experience. They have veterans. Um, the Suns led by Chris Paul and Devin Booker. They have a great 1-2 punch. The Warriors have a great combination of youth as well as veteranship, led by Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and yeah, for me that was the game of the night. I watched every bit of it, and you really couldn't tell who was going to come out with the win. Otto Porter Jr., I do want to shout him out because he did come up clutch for the Golden State Warriors. He put in a big 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Um, People forget about Otto Porter Jr. I forget about Otto Porter Jr. He's not your household name per se, but the Warriors brought him there for a reason. His 3-point ability to stretch the floor, big body, he could defend, he could play both ways. So shout outs to him. He came through for the Warriors. The Celtics Bucks game was also a really thrilling game, came down to the wire. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, both chipped in about 25 apiece. Tatum had a really nice drive at the end, but Giannis again with a historic block on Robert Williams. He's making a strong case for that MVP run. Um, I, you know, Giannis, as much as people want to say he's limited in what he could do, he's producing. He's a competitor. He keeps his team winning, and he's doing it all the right way. So can't give him nothing but props to him. And then the Lakers game, it was, I guess, a disappointment for Lakers fans because being at home, newly minted crypto arena, you would think on Christmas Day they would get it done against a very heavily depleted Brooklyn Nets. No KD, no LaMarcus Aldridge, and of course the saga with Kyrie Irving still being up in the mix. James Harden found a way to get it done. Him and Claxton, some of the other guys chipped in really well, but James Harden really held it down. And by the way, if you didn't see it, please make sure to go check out that Christmas Day poster with Claxton, James Harden throwing the lob, Claxton catching it, and putting LeBron on a poster for Christmas. What better way to cap off the night than to do that? So shout outs to the Brooklyn Nets for stealing one from the Lakers. And then the Jazz Mavs game, again, the Mavs did not have Luka Doncic. So that was already going to be a big issue. But KP, Kristaps Porzingis, and Jalen Brunson each chipped in 25 apiece. So you like to see that from your role players, and KP being one of the other all-stars on the team. You want to see him produce. It was also a really good game. It did come down to the wire. The Mavs were really fighting till the end, but the Jazz just were too much down the stretch. Donovan Mitchell, there was no answer for him, as well as his supporting cast. So really good game, but I think the game of the night for me was the Suns Warriors. I really enjoyed that. And yeah, I mean, Steph Curry and the Warriors again, please. I can't say this enough. As much as they had their run when Katie was there, when they were, a complete dynasty, they've built that right back again. And Klay Thompson is yet to come back. So please be on the lookout for them. They are going to be a nightmare to deal with come postseason. But the Phoenix Suns, defending Western Conference champs, they have that veteranship now. They have that experience. So it's going to be one hell of a Western Conference. But I also predict that the Eastern Conference is going to have a few shootouts in there as well. So definitely going to stay tuned and make sure that comes, stay tuned. And we're going to be covering that as much as possible leading up to the playoffs. So another thing I want to touch on today was just the league as a whole. So the league overview right now in terms of where I see teams, how I see teams, where they stand, and also some disappointments. So I have top 5 in the East, top 5 in the West. So right now, our top 5 leaders are in first place, the Brooklyn Nets, second place, Chicago Bulls, third, Milwaukee Bucks, fourth, Miami Heat, and fifth place, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yes, you heard that right. Cleveland is back for now, at least. That team led by, a lot of young guys. It's not even I can't even think of just one guy that's holding it down. They're just trying to build a culture now again in Cleveland as a hard-nosed team. I know Colin Sexton, Garland's up there. Kevin Love is actually producing as well. So they have, a mix of young and old, and they're just finding ways to win. They're just getting scrappy. They're not letting things go easy. I know there is one guy, and I'm just forgetting his name right now. Mobley. Yes, Evan Mobley. How could I forget? Wow, this guy is really coming out as a potential rookie of the year. A lot of people say he's shades of Chris Bosh, but um, huge X factor for the Cavs. If they do maintain this position at the 5th seed, I do see Evan Mobley gaining a lot of valuable experience. And it's going to be hard to say if they can give teams a run for their money. Being in the 5th seed, if they end up playing the Cavs or the Bucks, it's going to be tough for them, but I wouldn't count them out from winning maybe a couple games. So please stay on the lookout for the Cleveland Cavs to see what surprises they have. In the West, of course, we got the usual suspects. The Warriors are first place. The Phoenix Suns are second. Utah Jazz are third. The Memphis Grizzlies are fourth, and the Los Angeles Clippers are fifth. And one key thing to mention with the Clippers now, not being completely healthy without Kawhi, they've also just lost Paul George. He had a elbow injury that he's going to be out now for potentially 3 to 4 weeks. They're going to reevaluate him and see what happens there. But it's not looking good in La La Land, and I mean for the Clippers. But we will also touch on some of the disappointing teams. So La La Land is actually not looking all too good all the way around. But tough goal for them. Hopefully some of the young guys step up, keep them in the mix. But the Western Conference every year is going to be a shootout. So some of the disappointing teams. Now I only wanted to go with one from the East, one from the West, because of course there are some other teams that aren't meeting expectations. But of course, as you guys all know, there's a lot of stuff going on around the league. The health and safety protocols are keeping guys outside the lineup. In addition to that, there's always going to be sports injuries. As much as we don't like to see them, it is a part of the game. But one team that I want to speak about from the East would be the Philadelphia 76ers. What a mess it is dealing with the whole Ben Simmons saga. and Daryl Morey not wanting to give this guy up for anything, that's, I think, in a way, creating a lot of distractions for the team. Although they are competing and playing well, Joel Embiid, when he is in the lineup, they are able to win good games. They really need to put that stuff behind them. They're sitting at seventh right now in the East, and I wouldn't be surprised if they dip even further with the play-in schedule, how it's set up. You don't want to be in that seventh, eighth seed. It just adds too much of a strain going into the postseason, and then you end up playing a number one or number two seed. So nobody wants to play against the Brooklyn Nets when they're at full strength. Nobody wants to play against the Chicago Bulls as they've been balling out with their new leaders in Lonzo, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and Zach LaVine. How could I forget? So they're going to be a real great team to watch during the playoffs. But the Sixers, you guys need to figure stuff out. Either you dump Ben, get him out before the trade deadline, or you just bite the bullet. But that's going to be another wasted season where you're not getting the full potential from Joel Embiid. And big men, they don't last as long as they should nowadays. So you want to make sure you can give them as much as possible. Going into the Western Conference, I think some of you might have already predicted this, but the Los Angeles Lakers are just not getting it done, losing their last 5 games. Also behind very big performances from LeBron James. You just don't know anymore whether or not this team is they are a playoff team, no doubt about it, but a championship contending team. It's left to be said. The Russell Westbrook experiment, a lot of people would say it's not working out. Anthony Davis, he's kind of falling back to his, not necessarily always in the lineup. He is able to produce, but a lot of people are expecting a lot from Anthony Davis. He's playing with a really good supporting cast. And people are frustrated. People are frustrated that he's not able to stay in the lineup, and he's not as dominant as he should be. LeBron James only has a couple more good years left in him, and he's definitely trying to chase 5, and without a doubt to try to get to 6 to tie Michael Jordan. But how great would that be if he's able to get 5 rings? Him and Kobe being side by side with that, and then potentially reaching 6. So, you don't get as many opportunities as you'd like to nowadays to get to the finals. LeBron James does always try to find a way to do it, but with the way the team is producing defensively, they're not getting it done. I'm sure they're a great team to play with in NBA 2K22, but in reality, it was really disappointing for me seeing them lose their last game with the Staples Center arena before they switched it over to the crypto.com arena, and they lost to the San Antonio Spurs. Little games like that, whether guys are in and out of the lineup, great teams find a way to get it done. The Warriors would have found a way to get it done. The Suns would have found a way. Brooklyn, even at that, or the Milwaukee Bucks, defending champs. If the Lakers want to be taken serious, they have to win these games. They have to win these games against teams that they know they could beat. But more importantly, they have to win the big games as well to prove that they're ready for that level of competition. So another disappointment for me, the Los Angeles Lakers. Nonetheless, the season is still early. We're about almost at the midway point. So hopefully they could turn things around when they get AD back, and we'll kind of see how it goes from there. I guess one other key and fun fact that I didn't mention about Christmas games is I'll actually ask this as a question. Who does everybody think the number one score for Christmas games was? If you're thinking a Laker, not so much. If you're thinking a Celtic, you're not quite right either. It was actually Bernard King scoring 60 points versus the Nets at the time. This was in 1984. The Nets did win the game, but if you watch that Christmas game, there was nothing anybody could do to stop Bernard King. He had 60 points, doing it against bigs, against smalls, against forwards. Definitely all-time performance, and so far the number one top scorer on Christmas Day games. So another cool fact, New York Knickerbocker. So he was also in attendance to watch Kimber Walker pull off the triple double. But yeah, really special night for New York and Madison Square Garden. Something I love to see as a Knick fan. Of course, I love to support my Canadian team. Good old Toronto Raptors. We are the North, but It was also cool to find that out about Bernard King being the all-time leading scorer in the games, so putting up the most points in game. So that does conclude the Christmas edition of the Ant Green Show. Just to give you guys some highlights again, we went over some of the key performances for the night. So guys like Giannis, Curry, LeBron James, James Harden, Kemba Walker, and these guys, they show up no matter what the day, what the occasion. And we also spoke about some historic facts. LeBron James being all-time leading scorer, Kemba Walker pulling off the triple-double in the Garden, and Bernard King having the most points on a Christmas Day game with 60. And then we did some of the league overview as well. We did the top 5 in the East, the West, some of the disappointing teams. Hopefully they're able to turn things around. And then, as we mentioned before, we're going to be having some special guest speakers, and we're going to get our co-host back. We're going to try to get him back wherever that may be. And then most importantly, we're going to start to focus a lot more on our Canadian athletes and our teams, because they're making leaps and bounds without us even knowing. I love to give shout outs and respects where it's due. And, it's a really nice thing to see as a fellow Canadian, to see some of these Canadian athletes do their best. So we're going to make sure to be following them as much as possible. But of course, I want to thank everybody for tuning back into the Ant Green Show. It's your host, Mr. Greenheart. We're back. Season 2 is in full effect. We're going to be giving you episodes as much as we possibly can. Again, if you haven't liked, please hit the like. We love the support and appreciation in every way possible. If you could share this video to all of your friends and family, hey, they can maybe learn a couple things about the NBA, especially around the holiday season. And if you aren't doing it already, please make sure to follow The Ant Green Show. That is at The Ant, Green Show, SHOW, all one word. Your support goes a long way, so we definitely appreciate it here at the Ant Green Show. This is Mr. Greenheart signing out for now. I'd like to thank everybody again for tuning in. I'd like to thank everybody for your support. We are going to make this show as exciting as possible. If you are always interested in getting involved with the show, please make sure to send me a direct message on any of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. But I want to wish everybody a happy and safe holidays. Best wishes for everybody, to all my friends and family going into the new year 2022. This is yours truly, RG, aka Rahshawn, Mr. Greenheart, and this is the Ant Green Show Christmas edition. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Peace for now, and we'll see you next time. Peace, love, and greatness.